Today's top story from the perspective of someone who's there.
You are looking live.
This just in.
Not my beat.
Overreaction Tuesday time. Lynnell is with us. I'm sure there's nothing that's got you hot under the collar about a 40-20 loss on national television to the Bears.
I am A-OK. Nothing bothers this young whippersnapper. I'm all good.
An unflap. That should be your new Twitter bio. Is unflappable whippersnapper.
Unflappable whippersnapper. I like it. I can dig it.
That should be your new Twitter bio, new Instagram bio, your just new bio in general. All right, so there's so much to talk about with this game. Where do you want to start? Where are your takes at? And then we can determine, for those that are new to the segment, basically Lynnell comes with his flaming hot takes, and then I tell him whether or not he's overreacting. Although the takes, he's come much calmer than we've anticipated, and then he's just unleashed flames on the rooster. You've left extra crispy rooster on Wednesday. So come on, let's bring it. Where are you at, really? Do not temper your takes for this show.
Let's put some static in your hair, Craig Hoffman. My first overreaction actually happened yesterday.
Okay.
I was not a big fan, and I understand it's a slippery slope to climb, so to speak. Josina Anderson, CBS Sports, had a report yesterday. Basically sounded like she talked to some folks that's in the upper management of the Washington Commanders, and she went on she posted a really long tweet, and in that tweet it said one of Josh Harris's biggest concerns after Thursday night's loss is how the fan base, I guess, will react emotionally. Basically saying he's worried about people not showing up anymore after what happened on Thursday Night Football. And I understand when he got here, it was the middle of the summer and it wasn't much he could do, but that's not what I want to hear. That's not what the fan base wants to hear. We just got drubbed 40-20. I don't really care about ticket sales. I need something to happen to this football team. I need him to put pressure on the coaching staff. And we already knew the reputation he had with the Devils and with the Philadelphia 76ers as being a patient owner. But I feel like these situations are totally different than those because you're coming into a situation where your coach is in year 4. You've had 4 years of data to see how this group does things. And I think if that is the big concern coming out of Thursday night, then maybe he's not paying as much attention to the football operation as I want him to.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's overreaction. I think you're just connecting dots that don't connect. I just think there's a reality of the situation, which is he bought the team on July 20th. What the hell do you want him to do? And I think realistically, he does have to, one of the factors that he is managing is he has this honeymoon. He's trying to recoup money on his asset. He's a business owner. Of course he is. And the way he's going to ultimately do that is to recapture the fan base, which he wants to do both financially and altruistically. Let's even take the money out of it. Do you want him to do things in a way that maximizes fan happiness? Yes. Is firing everyone instantaneously perhaps going to give you a short-term boost? Sure.
But I'm not even
long-term, is that actually...
Everybody. I'm just talking about the energy that comes out of the building. I just would have liked the tone of what he was saying to be a lot more stern and a lot more urgent. It felt like the message that he gave, or the message that was given to Josina, didn't have much urgency on it.
Well, I don't know how much that was coming from Josh Harris either.
Well, I honestly think Josina talked directly to Magic. And
that would be my guess as well.
And Magic Magic was speaking for the other owners when she said that, the other minority partners have a different stance on this. And I think he was talking for himself.
Well, I think Magic is hyper competitive and he looks at it, but with all due respect, Magic is hyper competitive. If you know anything about Magic as a player, that's how he was. He was a competitive psycho. But Magic also just doesn't know what he's talking about on NFL football, with all due respect, because the X's and O's and why it happens. Magic couldn't co-host Take Command with me the way Logan does. Let's be very clear about that.
That would be hilarious, by the way.
It would be an incredible podcast, but we're not getting breakdowns of what happened in cover 2 from Magic Johnson. And so when it comes to actually solving the problems of what has happened with this team so far this year, I don't know that Magic has the answers either. And I think Josh is paying closer attention to Magic. And that's not necessarily defending all the decisions that they made. I think there's a lot of schematic decisions and a lot of personnel decisions that are indefensible. The problem is I don't know, not even indefensible. Some of them are just bad. like run-of-the-mill NFL bad. And the problem is I don't know how many of them can get fixed right now. Like I think they made a bunch of off-season errors that are going to have to get fixed in the off-season, like player personnel, staffing personnel. Like I don't think that the solutions are as easy as people want to make them seem. And so when it comes to like, but they're like back to kind of the original point here,
Uh-huh.
to like the fan base happiness point, sometimes you do have to serve a head on a platter. Like, unfortunately, that is the world of professional sports. And I think the number of tickets that we're talking about that will swing on Ron Rivera's head on a platter is very small compared to the overall operating budget of what the Washington Commanders are as a business. With that said, it's important that he monitors that, because if that, like the difference in individual ticket sales versus like, yo, our sponsorships are slowing down. And I think the biggest indicator, perhaps the canary in the coal mine, if you will, is season ticket sales.
I like
If
that.
all of a sudden the enthusiasm for next season starts to drop off dramatically, that's when you might have to serve up a head on a platter. And I just think through week 5, you're not there yet.
No.
Also, it's not the best thing for I've actually come a little bit full 360 on this. Not full 180, full 360. I started where I am. I got to a different point and then I came back to where I am. On this, like I actually don't think that they're like making this move right now is good for basically anybody involved, except for the select group of fans who will be happy to see a head roll and will be pissed again in 3 weeks when nothing changes and it's not any better.
I agree with you that firing someone right now isn't going to do anything. That's not really what I'm calling for. If I'm going to hear from Josh Harris at this point in time of the season, I just wanted to hear from him condemning the operation, but like not full blown, like Ron and company are bad. Just the results that we put out.
Like, I don't think we heard from Josh Harris. Like, that's the thing. I don't think, with all due respect to Josina, I don't think Josina is talking to Josh Harris.
The ownership group in its entirety. And I don't even want to just single out Josh Harris because that's unfair. I'm saying I just want more of a sense of urgency from the group in their messaging, right? Like it's all about recapturing the fan base. That's cool. We both know this, though. The number one way to recapture that fan base is winning football games. Now, there's nothing.
Well, hold on. Let me stop you there, though, because I think that's an important point. So let's bear down on it. What is the thing that Josh Harris can do to help this team win football games? Is it statements of they better figure it out, or is it supporting Ron Rivera as absolutely best he can? And then if it doesn't work at the end of the year, being like, hey, dude, I gave you everything you wanted and you still stunk.
Look, I agree that like there isn't a whole lot you could do, but I'm nitpicking here because if I'm going to hear from the ownership group or representatives from the ownership group, I want them to tell the fan base and voice their displeasure to the fan base at the start hasn't been acceptable and that they expect better moving forward. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, I think we heard that we didn't need, again, all due respect to Josina, like, we didn't need Josina. Magic tweeted it.
Yeah.
Like, Magic Johnson after the game was like, that's not good enough. Yeah. And he's correct. The performance was not good enough. But I don't think, like, it's an effort issue. I don't think that it's, any of the, like, passion, like, I mean, maybe there's some of that. Maybe there's a next level of passion and effort that could have been brought to that game. But also, like, I go back to the fact that they were playing on Thursday night after they faced the Eagles in overtime. Like, that is a brutal turnaround. Now, Chicago had a similar one, but like also Chicago played Denver, and Denver's an embarrassment of an NFL football team. So like they are different. They did have to travel. That's something for Chicago and in their their machination of last week. Like it's not an excuse. It's a potential reason. And I think we're going to learn a lot about this team and how they come out this week against Atlanta. And, they had a mini bye. They had a chance to fix. If it's all tactical, you had a chance to work on your tactics this week. So you better have figured it out.
You did. And one last thing on the old coach firing bit, which I'm not saying I would like to do, but this would be the time to do it. I feel like you had a mini bye, 10 days in between. Anytime your team comes out as flat as Washington did Thursday night, I think all people should be condemned, but like it's both sides of it, but that's on the coach. Get your guys ready to go like that. But it's also on the players, which is like, I'm torn.
Yeah, when you get smashed like that, there's enough blame to go around for everyone.
Correct. So it's hard for me. I'm just more so disappointed because based on the statement I made, I didn't think it was possible for them to lose to Chicago. I just did.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely possible, and it happened in the exact way that we thought it might, which is like they're a tough team to prepare for in a certain couple of things, and if you give up explosive plays, which is where Chicago thrives, like you could be in for a bad one. It's the same thing that frankly scares the hell out of me for the Giants in a couple of weeks. Atlanta doesn't scare me nearly as much. Like I could see how they lose to Atlanta for sure. Like Bijan's awesome, and they had not exactly been killing it against the run this year. And some of the play action, like I think it's Atlanta's a tricky team to prepare for. They're not great talent wise, but they're tricky. The Giants are really bad talent wise, but schematically do the stuff that Washington's bad at. Like they blitz like crazy on defense, and Washington's had trouble picking up pressures this year. Like that scares the daylights out of me. They're not very explosive offensively, but that's a different story. We'll deal with that in a couple weeks. Lynnell's with us. It's Overreaction Tuesday here on the Hoffman Show, Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app and streaming live on YouTube at the Team 980. All right, what's your next take? And then we'll judge overreaction or no.
This is just based off some numbers I've seen from the past 2 weeks. I think Washington in coverage needs to go with a different philosophical approach. And what I've heard over the past 48, 72 hours and gone back and looked at the numbers, they're playing a lot more man coverage this year than they were last year. And I understand last year is when they really started to click and connect in terms of the match zone, which is sort of like a pseudo man-to-man coverage anyway. But I just think it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for me for them to go into this offseason, if that's what they did, and say, you know what, we're going to make schematic changes to how we play in the secondary. You have the same group pretty much outside of one person in Emmanuel Forbes, and in college, I believe that was his strength, was playing man. But if they're going out and willing to change the whole defensive approach in the secondary based off of one guy, then I don't agree with the plan.
I think they're playing more man because they want to try to force turnovers or something, and or they trust their personnel, and I think it's a mistake. So to me, this is 100% not an overreaction, and I'm very much hoping that during this mini bye, they self-scouted and went, nope. And especially now that you've got Percy Butler over the top and Quan coming in, like I don't know, man, it's hard. Like man is also simpler. It's like, hey, that's your dude. Guard him. So
these are NFL receivers, though, man. It's hard to play.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. And against Justin Fields specifically, it's like make that dude read a defense. Reading a defense in man coverage is this: set hut. Where's my matchup that I like? Bang, and you're going to throw the ball with anticipation on the break, unless your guy's out leveraged, and then you're going to get to the next guy. But it's not like, oh, this is cover two. Where's the route? I got to pick this player. Like I'm trying to isolate the corner. Like, is he dropping off? Is he underneath? Like you don't have to do any of the thinking that is required against a zone, and the throwing windows are often much cleaner against man, and that's where Justin Fields struggles, is like reading the defense. And also like when we talk about marrying coverage and pressure, like they're playing man with not a lot of blitzing, and so you're relying on your front four to get home, but you're relying on front four against 5, 6, and 7 blockers. Like they're keeping, like the one thing that was an interesting takeaway from Take Command this morning is the defensive line apparently played a lot better than people realized. And that's not surprising, but also like with the caveat that on some of the big explosive plays, like that's where they didn't get pressure. But like their pressure rates were insane in this game. Like almost half of snaps, they're getting pressure on Justin Fields. Even the touchdown to Moore over Fuller in the back corner of the end zone, that's like shake Justin Fields' hands. Congratulations, man. That's a hell of a throw. And he got smashed in the face.
Yeah.
Like there is, I think a schematic flaw here of they are relying on that front four. Teams know it. They're leaving tight ends and backs in to chip or just straight double team. And they're leaving John Allen one-on-ones. And John doesn't look like John right now. Like, I wonder if the foot bothered him or if he's out of condition because the foot kept him out of the back half of training camp, whatever it is. But like, that's the guy that they've isolated on some of these plays. And it comes down to one guy winning a one-on-one as opposed to one of 4 guys winning one-on-ones or 3 guys winning one-on-ones. And they're not really like simulating pressure and doing these types of things to make it so that if you're going to play like the long wind up here to getting back to the man coverages, as you well know, like playing man for 2.5 seconds is very different than 3.
Yeah.
So you have to cover
difference.
longer. And that's I think where some of these problems are happening is you're relying on your front four to do something that's just not really feasible.
And I do think you made a really good point. If you're going to play as much man as Washington has, send some extra pressure with it. Don't leave your corners on an island and ask them to cover, as you're saying, for unthinkable amounts of time. The one thing I will also say about the secondary in general, when playing man coverage and any coverage for that matter, which is why I go more, it's on the players and the coaches. Guys got to make plays, man. There are a
Mm-hmm.
couple of times on Thursday where guys just aren't making plays on the football. The game against Philadelphia, the Sunday before, guys just not making plays on the football, missing tackles in open space. That's not a schematic thing. Guys just got to be better. And I think a lot of it may have to, and I know some people are going to hate this excuse, but every team in the NFL is dealing with it. The shortened preseason and the guys not playing a lot of snaps during the summer and really getting live coverage, you're going to see it. And I think it's been a trend throughout the first month of the season for the past 3 years with this group, right? I think they come out of the block slow because they don't get a lot of work in the summer. And I think
Yeah.
that could be debated one way or another. But I guess I'll save my next overreaction for my next overreaction because it is tied into the front four.
Yeah, no, all right. Just to wrap up that thought, I think that's 100% correct. I think that, I mean, the numbers are staggering. First 5 games versus the rest for Del Rio's crew the last 4 years. But I do think the tackling has been a big part of it, and that is definitely a player issue. The one other thing that we talked about this morning that I think is interesting is like situational play calling too. You know,
Yeah.
when are you bringing those pressures? Like the touchdown that they give up to Moore on the first drive is like a great cover 2 beater. I kind of hate being in cover 2 there. Like, it's 3rd and 14. Like,
That's the one
maybe let's
area Madden you would never run cover two in that situation.
right. It's like, hey, we're gonna run a kind of a corner situation here, and we're gonna attack the weak spot in cover 2. And you're relying on your front four to not give the time to that to happen. Just
Yeah.
play quarters. Like just have deeper guys protecting the stick / the goal line there, and you don't have that problem. So situational play calling is something that I think, upon looking at the tape, is worthy of mentioning. All right, last overreaction. Maybe we got time for 2 more, but last one. Make it good, Lynnell, as if your takes are never have any spice.
We kind of already touched on it a little bit, but you may have debunked it already. I'm disappointed in the impact, the lack of impact that the front four is having. And I don't want to just pin it all on them. I think there's things that they could do schematically as well to help them.
Right.
But it just feels like, this is a group that's got 4 first rounders on it, and like they're not impacting on a down to down basis at the rate that I want them to. And I understand maybe I'm asking something that's unfeasible because of the numbers game. Sometimes they're working 4 on 6, 4 on 7. When it just looks different. This past Sunday was really eye opening for me because I got to sit down and watch the other 31 teams across the National Football League. Bosa, Garrett, Parsons. It just looks different from the other guys. And I know maybe we don't have an alien along our front four, but they want to get paid like they're aliens. So it's like, I need you to do some of the freakazoid stuff. And I just want more from that group. I'm not saying I'm disappointed. I just want more because of all the expectations that we have for them. And in reality, this is like their first real full season playing together, as with Chase in the mix, because I know 2021 he got nicked up. So I just want more from them. I want them to play less too. They're playing a lot of snaps.
That is
Like,
another part of this.
Can we get the rotation going? I'm glad, we saw Josh Pryor get elevated back to the practice squad. Maybe that means more snaps for someone else who's already on the active roster. Like, I need guys to play more up front. I need the rotation to be a little bit better as well.
I am just totally mystified as to why Casey Tuhill played 6 snaps. Like,
Yeah.
what do you do? Casey Tuhill's a good football player.
He's fast, and he's not going to loaf. He's
Right.
not somebody you got to worry about chasing down a playback side. He's going to play balls to the wall every snap.
Him, James Smith-Williams, both. And when FA gets back, same deal. Like, I know Andre Jones played like 5 snaps, and his season basically is ended so far because he had a really bad run fit. I think it was like he let someone get out.
On the end
Like,
around.
he's on your roster. Like, let's figure out a way to get him on the field and get some of these guys rest. Because I will say, if you want an alien, dude, Chase played his ass off in this game. I mean, Chase Young played so well in this football game. And you watch him, Chase runs down from the backside. Like, you watch the effort that he plays with and some of the wins that he gets. PFF has him with 11 pressures in this game. Chase was awesome.
Yeah.
The problem is is like, can you get that from other places? And can you do more to help these guys out? Can you make it so we can play as hard as possible on every snap by getting more rotation? Can you make their lives a little easier? Even if you don't want to bring pressure, can you simulate pressure? So I feel like we use those words sometimes and to it might just go over people's heads. So if you know what they are, great. If you don't know what a simulated pressure is, it's we're going to show blitz so that we, again, simulate that we're blitzing, get the offense to change its protection call. And then they don't know who's coming and who's not. So we drop out, one place and maybe get an overload somewhere else. So can you do more of that? And maybe that does occasionally drop a Chase or a Montez into coverage, and you undercut what would be a hot route and bring Jamin Davis on a blitz or Cam Curl on a blitz, or you bring your corner. Like, there's ways to rush with 4 that still feel like a blitz to the offense, and it rushes their process. It messes with their protection rules. And Washington's just not doing that stuff with any kind of regularity. And by the way, it's something that you can't just be like, oh, well, a few teams do it. It's happening to the offense every single week. And so most teams in the NFL feel like they do this, and Washington just hasn't done a good job with their pressures this year. They're relying on that 4-man front, which, like, philosophically, I understand, but then it becomes very predictable and very easy. You just leave extra guys in and trust that you can beat this back end. And that is what happened against Chicago. And it's what's happened, I would say, multiple other times in other games this season.
The overall word I'd use to describe what they're doing defensively is just vanilla. It's vanilla. They have a lot of talent on that side of the football. And I think you can get the most out of them by complexing some things and making the other team's quarterback think. I think, like, Justin Fields is somebody I would have tried to throw the kitchen sink at. He's having issues. We've seen him have struggles in the past. Make the game as difficult as possible for him. Make him think. And when you're playing a bunch of man-to-man coverage, as you mentioned, there ain't a whole lot of thinking you have to do.
No, that's for sure. All right, that is Overreaction Tuesday. What's your schedule for the rest of the week? Are you roostering? Are you what you got overtiming? What are you doing?
Overtime tonight, Wednesday,
okay,
Thursday. I think I'm on overtime every day this week. So
yeah, we're in like ultimate overtime mode right now, where the Caps haven't actually started yet, and we're still waiting on some of the college basketball. There's a lot of overtime shows, so a lot of Lynnell at night on 106.7 The Fan. Make sure you check him out there. And then, of course, Burgundy and Gold Game Day live. The in-game show on Sundays follows the Take Command pregame show. They take live calls. They react live. Lynnell tries really hard not to cuss. Have you ever cussed on that show and had to have the producer bleep it? You've kept yourself
I have not.
in check?
During the post-game show, we had some callers call in and swear, but we dumped it as quick as we could. I've actually been a cool cucumber during that show until Ron came out of the locker room and said that he let the guys talk to themselves. That kind of set me over the edge.
I kind of loved that, honestly. Like, I did find it hilarious. Grant and I were texting about that because Ron just stands there with the sidelines, and it's like, don't you have anybody you could talk to in the headset or talk to in conversation? And so we're talking about how because that was also his thing in Carolina. Like, my one of my really good friends is a Panthers fan up here, and obviously I know a ton from having grown up down there. But Sam used to always just scream. He just stands there with his arms crossed. He doesn't talk to, and I'm like, yeah, now I get exactly what you're saying.
It's who he is, but darn, I wish.
But, like, also, if your leaders are going to step up in the locker room, like, I'm cool with that.
Yeah, because the last thing I want Ron Rivera to do is cut John Allen off while he's trying to hype the defense up. That wouldn't be good for Ron. Probably wouldn't be good for Ron.
No.
I have a bonus overreaction.
Okay.
Overall grade after 5 weeks, D- on this free agent and draft class. D+ is what I said I'd do. I'll go D+. That's just not.
Who's not failing?
Nick Gates. Nick Gates is my non-failing grade.
Yeah.
And
Wiley's probably not failing. That might be a little bit of an overreaction. Wiley's been exactly what I thought he would be. Now, if you want to say what that's worth for the price and all that kind of stuff, like, okay, if you want to give him a C-, like, I'm fine. Gates has been fine. They obviously haven't played 2 of their rookies literally at all. Although Stromberg had like 5 snaps one game.
And I think Stromberg is going to be a good player.
Yeah, I don't get why they signed Gates and also drafted Stromberg. Like, that's, again, use of resources. That's a Hoffman rant that is ongoing. That's not an overreaction. That's just analysis right there, bro.
It's just a take, people.
Just a take with thought and purpose. something.
An informative thought.
Yeah. All right. Go rest up. Overtime coming up in just a little bit on 106.7 The Fan. And of course, Lynnell will be back with us next Tuesday. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
This is the Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.